All right, everybody. I am back, so come on back in. I think we got all the little technical difficulties out the way. Here we go. And I'm inviting Mr. Wilson in. There we go. Get him back in here. Hi, how you doing?
What's going on, Miss Mika? How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Had a little bit of a technical issue,
Yeah, I
but I'm
understand.
glad we were able to.
Yeah, I understand. We have
So
to.
give everybody a few minutes in this thing.
Okay. Yeah, we have to deal with the technical stuff first all the time before we go live, just to make sure everything's working smooth. So, yeah, it takes a little bit. What's going on, Martine? Nice to see you.
Nice to see you, Martine. She came on live with me the other night. It was amazing.
Yeah, I love
very good.
I love when people are doing what you're doing by trying to educate their base, educating the people around them, and trying to bring people in for education purposes. That's awesome. That's really awesome. So I love what you're doing, sister.
So I'm gonna give everybody a few minutes to get onto this broadcast. They're coming in.
Like, can you share that to just at least share it to our page and wherever else they'll let you share it.
So people they're coming in. They're still coming in right now. I'm telling you, I posted this on my news page. Everybody jumped in, and they want to know about that cryptocurrency and that blockchain technology.
Yeah, I know it's hot. And today, my buddy from the Philippines, he calls today a red pie because of all of the losses. Yeah. So yes. I bet a lot of people want to talk about that for sure.
Well, we're going to go ahead on and get started. I know I don't have but an hour of your time. I want to welcome everyone to One Family News Let's Talk. Today I have on a special guest. I have on Crypto Guru, I like to call him, Mr. Lamar Wilson. He'll be on talking to you today about cryptocurrency and the blockchain technology. Feel free to ask questions. Ask him lots of questions while we have him on for this hour, because he's a crypto guru, just as I said before. So enough of the talk. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, so my name is Lamar Wilson. I'm not anyone's guru. I've just been around for a while. And I enjoy this space. I enjoy cryptocurrency, and I enjoy it for the fact that it provides freedom and choice. And it provides access to certain marginalized groups that may not have actual access to the financial markets and financial industry. And so crypto, you can't stop someone from getting into it, right? So I really enjoy this space. Like my co-founder and I always talk about, it's all about economic injustice and how do we overcome that, and can we overcome that with technology? So that's why I'm here, and I'm here to just answer any questions you guys may have. I'm here for Miss Mika and her following. So whatever you guys want to ask me, I'm here. This is what I do.
Can you start off, Lamar, telling us what is cryptocurrency?
So cryptocurrency is if we go to the first one, is Bitcoin. So cryptocurrency, like Bitcoin, is basically built on what's called blockchain technology. So the Bitcoin itself, the cryptocurrency you keep hearing everybody talk about, there's an underlying Bitcoin protocol that actually allows that to exist, but they have to work together. So Bitcoin, the currency, helps to secure Bitcoin, the protocol, right? So if we go from the cryptocurrency down into the blockchain, I'll describe kind of what a blockchain is. A blockchain is a distributed ledger where you have all of these records that are not on only one computer or one node, as you'll hear me say sometimes. They're not only on one computer. These records are on everyone's computer, and the same records are everywhere. And so what that's called is finding consensus among all of those computers that have those records. And the way you find that consensus is by using something called a proof of work. And this is Bitcoin I'm talking about. It's 11,000 nodes globally, Ray Sean said. So this is Bitcoin that I'm talking about. So when they find this consensus among all of these nodes, they use what's called a proof of work to actually create a chain of blocks. And blocks are nothing more than batch transactions. It's almost if some people work in retail. At the end of the night, you've run all of those credit cards through the machine. And at the end of the night, you go and you batch them, because it's way easier to combine those transactions and send it at once than it is to try to make sure that you sync all of them. So for data propagation's sake, they batch all of the transactions and send those. And so now you have a set batch of transactions that then become chained to each other, because the block or the batch of transactions before the next one, the previous block of those transactions, that hash has to be connected into the new block, right? And so then that's how you get a chain. That's why it's called a chain. So that, and then Ray Sean, like you said, that's why no one company can take over Bitcoin, because you have to have 51% of the network to do so. And believe me, there are plenty of people who would love to have 51% of the network, but because of that, they're all fighting for the same piece of pie, which keeps it decentralized and keeps it more secure from one person taking over. So that's pretty much what a blockchain is. I try to break it down as just being a distributed ledger that is protected by some mathematics and protected by cryptography to make sure that that ledger can come find consensus among all of those distributed nodes. Hopefully I didn't go too up in the rafters. I try to keep it low, on the low level. So yeah.
Now I hear everyone is familiar with Bitcoin. What are the other coins that are out there?
Oh gosh, I think that's 1,400 last time I counted on CoinMarketCap. Some of the prevalent coins, the ones people know about, are Ethereum, which is more about distributed global computing. Litecoin. Oh yeah, my bad. Ray Sean said I should mention it's also a broadcast system. It uses what's called a gossip network to send out those nodes and transactions, which is a good thing and not a bad. Okay. And that's why that's hence the slowness, because you have to get those, you have to propagate those around. You have to propagate those blocks. But yeah, some other coins, Litecoin, Ripple, never mind. X Ripple, Stellar. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I don't really look at that as being a coin. Dash. I could go to CoinMarketCap. I think it's probably easier for your listeners to go to coinmarketcap.com and look at the list of coins that are out there. It's probably easier for them to go to that. But there are a lot of coins, because truthfully, Bitcoin kind of birthed the idea, right? From the birth of Bitcoin, the idea was out there, and people started saying, you know what, I can use this for my own thing. People like Vitalik and those guys over at Ethereum, they said, well, we can take those principles and apply it to something else. And that's what's going on. Yeah, people, we just caught Lamar mentioning coins. She's asking, listen, let me clear this up, Mika. You know, I got some people on here who are regulars. So yes. These people that she's talking to and her listeners, they have no idea about this stuff at all, Ray Sean. So I gotta make sure they know about this stuff. So, but yeah, here's the thing too. At some point, you should probably have Ray Sean on too. He's a very knowledgeable guy as well. But yeah, go ahead, Mika.
I hope I can get him on as well. Now, when you're talking about what changes are you seeing with the inception of these blockchain technologies?
Well, right now, the change I'm seeing is a lot of people speculating. A lot of people jumping in that had no prior experience with any types of assets or buying any types of digital assets or anything, any investments or anything. And so the changes I'm seeing is the market seems to be leaning more towards people trading the coins on an exchange than before. It was all about how can we create wallets and create an ecosystem around some of this so that we can actually use it, right? So the utility of some of the coins are falling by the wayside in exchange for the tradability of the coin. And those are the changes that I have seen as of late from what I remember when we first were getting into the game, when most people were trying to figure out how to use the coins and how to allow the coins to basically overturn a closed off financial system. So that's probably some of the biggest changes I've seen. I don't think anyone's really using the coins the way that they may have intended. Even Bitcoin in and of itself was a cryptocurrency that was supposed to be used to take on the financial systems. And now it's slowly becoming a store of value, very similar to gold, right? So that's where we are right now.
Okay. And I see Rashawn had a question there. What blockchain will be good? This is for as far as government's concerned, the sub-penny accounting.
That's such a huge deal, and we're not picking up on it. People will have an aha moment in 2019. Yeah. What's his name? Rashawn, he always talks about the Satoshi and getting down to the Satoshi and us actually pricing things all the way down to the Satoshi. The Satoshi, of course, if you look at it based on the value of the fiat dollar, and I always will say the fiat dollar, any other fiat currencies, yes, it's sub penny. Like you can get the value goes way lower than a penny when you think about how many Satoshis are in a Bitcoin. So let's go to that really quick. So there's a Bitcoin. One Bitcoin has 100 million Satoshis. So that's a whole lot of units. You know how a dollar has 100 pennies? Well, one Bitcoin has 100 million Satoshis. So what Rashawn's talking about is getting to the point where you can start doing accounting all the way down to the sub penny level, which is 100 million, actually 9 places after the decimal. So.
What was the original purpose of the Bitcoin and cryptocurrency?
I mean, the original purpose of Bitcoin was to beat the financial systems. If you look at the what is it called? The Genesis block. In the Genesis block is basically going at, remember we had the crash back in 2008? If you look at the Genesis block, I can't remember exactly what it says, but they're literally talking about, there's a headline that they put in there that's talking about the crash that happened. And so it was an indirect response to the government, like basically killing our entire financial system by allowing Wall Street to do what it did. And so what it is they said, listen, if we can have a currency that's not relying upon government, that's not relying upon somebody adding supply to it, that programmatically creates supply and makes sure that there's a top on it, basically a limit of how many coins can happen, what you'll have is a currency that as more people get into it, it should create more and more value because of the price going up relative to the number of coins and the demand. So that was it. And then all the other cryptocurrencies, I can't say all of them have that purpose. Many of the early ones try to have that purpose. Ethereum is a little bit different again, like I said, because they're more about computation and making sure you have a distributed world computer. But many of the cryptocurrencies, early ones were about that mentality because it came from a libertarian view of the world. The problem is that some of these coins that you're hearing about now, they're just out for money grabs. So they don't even really have ideals or purpose or anything like that, except to separate you from your Bitcoin, right? That's their purpose, is to like get you to pay your Bitcoin or your Ether or whatever and separate you from that. And thank you. He went and found it. The Times, this is what's in the Genesis block. The Times, 03 January 2009, Chancellor on the brink of second bailout for the banks. So see, it is in direct response to the economy failing. And remember when they were everybody was bailing out banks, right? So it's like, we keep bailing out banks. And I guess Satoshi, I don't know who Satoshi is, I was going to say, and those guys. But Satoshi and people like him were probably like, okay, enough is enough. We keep bailing out banks. It's time for us to work together. It says, you can go ahead.
So how would the government regulation impact cryptocurrencies? Banking are implementing blockchain technology.
Listen, banks are going to be banks. They're going to be regulated. What it'll do for banks is speed up a lot of their processes. Usually what I would say is that should lower cost. Making things more efficient usually lowers cost, but in a capitalist society, when you lower costs, they still wind up raising prices. right? So they might lower their costs, but they're trying to get profit. So they want their next earnings report to do well. I don't think they'll pass those costs on that much to the end user, just to be completely honest. But in the back end, they'll help them out. So that's why they're using blockchain technology. Now, government regulation around impact on cryptocurrencies, who knows? All of these governments like China, Korea, South Korea, they're all trying to ban some form of using it or whatever, and it hasn't hit the United States yet. And I asked this question yesterday. I said, when it hits the United States, are you still going to be a holder? Will you still hold on to these Bitcoins if the United States says, hey, we're banning all exchanges in the United States? If they ban Coinbase, if they ban Poloniex, right? Are you still going to be a holder? And that's when you start realizing if you really are believing in the currency, or are you just believing that it can make you rich really fast, right? Yep.
So now that we're seeing this sea of red across the board from the cryptocurrency, do you think that's kind of weeding out those who are just in it to make a quick buck, or from those who are actually backing the technology?
It always does, right? Weekends leave during this time. And what I call weekends are people who don't agree or don't understand the long-term effects of what cryptocurrency can do and don't believe in it long-term. And all they're doing is trying to make money. Because if they're trying to make money, the moment they see money leave, they trying to get out of it so they won't lose too much money, right? When there are people who have basically held onto these currencies from pennies to dollars, from dollars to $100, from 100 to 1,000, and 1,000 to $10,000 per coin, right? There are people who have held on to that for a very, very long time. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, if your mentality is, I believe in this as a technology and I believe that its future is going to make changes in society, then you don't care about today, right? Leif and I, the only reason why we look at these charts is because we have to talk to people who care about the charts. But other than that, it's like, I didn't even know when my buddy from the Philippines said, Lamar, it's red pie day. I was like, red pie? What the heck are you talking about, right? A red pie, but that's what he was talking about, right? He runs an exchange, so of course he's very attached to it, right? But it's, for me, it's like at this time you're going to see people who didn't have that belief, they're going to sell off, and when they sell off, those people who really do believe, they had some money on the side, they're gonna come in and swoop up a lot of these coins, and they're gonna keep moving forward. But another thing you'll see is some of these coins that were, not very steady and solid, they usually start falling away at these times because they already had a small market, and now people start selling them off. Now they have far less people who are holding them. And when you don't have people using and holding and trying to build on your coin, that's how stuff begins to like fade away. That's how, if you look at CoinMarketCap, you can go to the bottom of CoinMarketCap and you'll see a bunch of coins that have no volume, but they're still on CoinMarketCap. And they may be on a couple of exchanges, but it's these times like now that basically separate the wheat from the tare. Excuse me.
Okay. And for those of you who are just joining us, welcome to One Family News. Let's talk. Today I have a special guest, Lamar Wilson, on, and he's talking about cryptocurrency and the blockchain technology. My next question is, some people feel like the cryptocurrency is a higher risk than, say, investing in the stock market. What is your take on that?
They are. They completely are. Anybody who says different, they're not being all the way honest with you.
You froze. Okay, you froze up on me a little bit.
Yeah, pause. Did you get a notification or something?
It froze up.
Yeah, I saw a pause. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, anyone who says different, they're not being completely intellectually honest with you, because most of these coins are purely speculation because it's built on technology that isn't even really solid yet. We're really not probably in 1.0 of any of these technologies, right? And when I say 1.0, people understand technology, understand what I mean by version 1.0, something very solid, stable type of a version. So if you're out here putting all of your money and stuff into crypto, it's crazy. It's extremely high risk. And I wouldn't even call it an investment. right? I wouldn't even call it an investment. It is purely speculation. And all you're doing is trying to figure out, look, somebody says a low risk speculation is comparing to playing Russian roulette. No, it is. It's completely a speculation. It really is. It is speculation like going gambling, because you don't know what these coins are. And many of them just have white papers that make it look pretty on the outside, and they don't even have any utility. They don't have any use. There's no reason for them to exist in some cases. There's no reason to even have some of these types of coins, but yet people are putting thousands and thousands of dollars in because they really believe someone will be a greater fool than them. And whenever I say greater fool, that's not to belittle anyone. That's just the terminology. There's an idea of the greater fool. So if you're speculating, that's literally what you are betting on, is that some greater fool will come in and pay more than you paid for something that's not really worth anything, right? Some of the bigger coins definitely have worth because their worth is in the network. And that's the same thing with, if you see the Facebooks, the Instagram, before Instagram was bought by Facebook, what made them worth money, right? What made those companies worth anything was the fact that they had network. Twitter still really hasn't figured out how to make a lot of money, even though it has incredible network, but that's where the value is. People are buying the stock based on the network. So when the coin gets to a certain size of a network, enough network where it'll keep it withstanding even some of these like red days like today, then that's when you start realizing, okay, that coin can make it through, and there are people actually still building on it. There are people who aren't even looking at the price that are building new tools for it. That's the kind of stuff that you need for a coin. But when the coin is all built around how much I can trade it for dollars, yeah, you need to watch those types of coins and be very very cautious about getting into those, because there are people out there just for a money grab. There have been a couple of companies, USI Tech and BitConnect, which, I don't want to pick on them, but those are two companies that everyone was hyping up, right? And they were also just like putting their money into it and arguing with me and everything. But at the end of the day, it's like, I almost am like, if it looks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck, right? So
it's a duck.
Yeah. So
my next question will go into mining.
Yeah.
How do can you talk a little bit about the mining?
Yeah. So it just depends, right? But I always tell people when they want to get into mining, look at Bitcoin.org first, because the whole mentality behind mining came from Bitcoin, and a lot of these are some type of derivative off of how Bitcoin mines. But what Bitcoin is basically doing is saying, listen, I have this block, I made this block, I put all these transactions together, and I'm going to take a hash of the block header. And the block header has stuff in it like the Merkle root, the previous block hash. And I don't want to I'm not going to even get into it too much. So they take that hash, they take that header, and what they have to do is solve a problem. And that problem basically says, taking that hash and a nonce, or a counter, something that increments up, take that hash and a nonce and try to find an output that is smaller than the output of the block before, right? Okay. So what that does is it means more zeros at the front of the number. So the more zeros you have, right, the smaller the number is when you start talking about computations. The thing is, the more zeros you have, it takes a lot longer to try to find a number that's that small that fits within that small of a parameter, right? Because if it was just wide open, you could probably find it quickly, and that's called difficulty. So it's far more difficult to find a number with more zeros at the front because you've made the number of outputs smaller, right? The number of potential outputs smaller. What that takes is a lot of hashing power, but that hashing power proves that you did work on it, and that you basically contributed a whole lot of your processing power to find this parameter, right? Once you've done that, that validates that you've done the amount of work necessary to make everyone else know that you're contributing to the network, and you're adding basically security to the network. Because once you find that hash, no one else can really come in. The more difficulty that's in the network, it's very hard for someone else to come in and rewind that chain and catch back up to the difficulty, because they would have to rewrite all of the blocks that are before the one that they try to change. So, and you probably have to rewrite probably about 7 of them, 6 or 7 of them, but it's still hard because the difficulty is so high. They have to beat the block before. So it's the more difficulty that gets added to the chain and the more hashing power that gets added to the chain, the more secure the chain is. And that's the incentive. So that's what mining is. And so how do you reward somebody for providing that information or providing that processing power? You give them the economic token, or Bitcoin. You let them have the token for finding the hash and giving that much processing power. The other way you reward them is that any of those transactions that come through that have fees, you pay them the fees. So now you've incentivized them to continuously open up their processing power, and then also incentivizes others to compete against you so that you will get the aggregate effect of everyone adding their processing power to the chain, which essentially secures the chain.
Okay, so what's to stop the government from taking over the mining? Well, yeah, and that's a question for you.
Here's the thing. This is something that I always think about. And Rayshawn, you might disagree with me on this, but one thing I always think about is if someone like a Putin, right, who has way more money than anybody really knows, people can't even. Like, Putin's probably the closest thing we have to King Solomon. Like, real talk. He's running way more than we can even think about. If he went to all the huge mining houses and said, here, I'm going to give you $4 billion a person. I mean, $4 billion for your mining equipment. And went to the next one, $4 billion and $15 billion, right? And he just went around and started giving people a whole lot of money because he has a lot to spare. Somebody could potentially take it over, right? I used to always, the thing that made me fearful for a while was, for a long time, China was killing the mining game. As an aggregate, as an aggregate, China had probably more than the 50%. So if their government came in and said, hey, we're taking over, because in China that can happen. If their government came in and said, you just shut it down, we always just say, if they came in and said, turn the lights off, it's over. That would have adversely affected the entire Bitcoin blockchain. You see what I'm saying? So that is the biggest thing for me, is that if one country starts to aggregate a lot of miners, and then that one country, all they do is say, no, you can't mine anymore, turn off the lights. In the short term, it would adversely affect the chain, because if they had most of the mining power, it would take 2 weeks for the difficulty to adjust to be able to handle a lower bit of mining power. So a lot of people don't understand that. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And then like Rayshawn, he's saying that he doesn't think that miners would sell out. My thing is that we don't know for sure. You offer somebody you offer somebody the right amount of money, they'll all sell out. They like, I ain't got a man no more. And they'll look at their profit. Look, they'll look at their profit and loss. Think about it. That's like saying the guy who sold shea butter. What was it called? The hair stuff, Shea Moisture. Most people were upset at him for selling out, but it's like, you offer somebody the right amount of money and they know how long it takes and all the work it takes into running a business. It's like, I'm out of here. Here's my check. I mean, here, give me that check. Here's my business. That's the same thing that happened with the miners, because again, we still just dealing with people. It's not like it's some computer out there that's doing it. You see what I'm saying? So everybody somebody says everybody has a process. I think what he's saying is everybody has a price. And I think that's the one thing that used to scare me, but now it's becoming far more spread out. It's far more decentralized. Iceland's getting into it heavy. Some other countries are definitely getting into it. So that's the part that I really think. It says, please ask Lamar to tell you about where the transactions fees for Bitcoin go. They will be very insightful for you to know your incentivization. Hint, it doesn't go to Visa. Yeah, transactions for Bitcoin go to the miners.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
Yeah, so that's what happens. They go to the miners.
Thank you, Rayshawn.
To incentivize them. Here's the thing. When the blocks hit, I think it's 2140. Somebody make sure they go fact check me. I think it's 2140 when we're around 2140 when we're supposed to hit 21 million Bitcoins. Once that happens and there are no more Bitcoins that are being created, then the miners will have to completely run off of transaction fees. So that's going to be an interesting time as well. Because I always am like, are we going to have enough transaction fees at that time, 2124? Next halving is
Yeah,
23.
21, 24.
Thanks, Rayshawn. Because I always get the math wrong because it can fluctuate just based on how fast people are mining blocks. But if that happens, what is going to happen to the miners? And if the miners don't have enough transactions, are they going to be able to keep the mine? That's all of this stuff. This is what I'm saying. Even Bitcoin being the granddaddy, there are a lot of things to consider. Always a lot of things to consider. But me being a software developer, I understand there's going to be challenges and I still want to jump in, right? I still love it. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot of things that we have to consider because all of this stuff is brand new. We don't know what the miners are going to do. And with all of these forks, who in the heck knows what's going to happen then? It says, somebody said ISIS is irrelevant. Well, ISIS caused the government to go after the miners. I don't think ISIS is even in this one, Rocky. I really don't.
No, I don't.
Yeah. I think
so my next question is right now everyone's talking Bitcoin, but you have the old school millionaires that are telling everyone to stay away from it. Do you think that they have an agenda, or do you think it's because they're not looking toward the future?
I don't know if they have an agenda. Like, I understand we always got conspiracy brothers in the barbershop, right? You start seeing the same news. You know what I'm talking about. I understand that. But I don't think it's really an agenda. I just think it's people who don't understand. They come from a different era. It's funny to me. It's just like when Facebook first came out and a lot of people's parents, they was like, y'all share everything on there. You put everything, your pictures, your food, you share every single thing on there, right? People's parents y'all don't think about privacy, none of that. And guess who took over Facebook? Everybody's parents, everybody's grandparents, everybody's parents. Matter of fact, it's so many parents and grandparents on Facebook now that all the kids went to Instagram and Snapchat. Like literally,
yes.
That's what it is. So it's like at the beginning, it's a whole different mentality. So I think the same thing will happen with Bitcoin with some of these older guys, right? It's like they'll start seeing some of the benefits and what happens when you start opening the financial system. And some of them will never believe it. If you even go back and look at Warren Buffett, right? Let's go back and think about Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett, he missed out on a whole lot of technology stocks because he just didn't understand it. Did that make him less rich? No, because he still was in on some other stuff that made him more money. But he still missed out on a bunch of technology stocks early on because he just didn't get it. And that could be the same thing that's happening now. I just think making all of these people who say this stuff headlines is crazy because we just live in a whole different world. You see what I'm saying? Like, don't come in and be like, hey, be the curmudgeon, this is not going to work. It's not going to work. And then put them up on the headline. Just because Warren Buffett said it, why is that a headline? They never put up the stuff that Warren Buffett missed.
Right.
They don't ever say Warren Buffett missed this stock. Super headline, Wall Street Journal. They're like, no, Warren Buffett says Warren. Right. So it's like, at the end of the day, do your own research, do your own due diligence. Make decisions for yourself. Who cares if Warren Buffett said it or not? He's a good, wise guy, right? But if he doesn't understand it, he don't understand crypto, why would you even listen to him? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't care how old, how wise people are. Sometimes they just don't get it. And that's fine. Mm-hmm. Like, listen to him when it comes to stock picking, because everybody knows that's my boy. I started off investing in stocks, reading books like The Intelligent Investor by Benjamin Graham, who is Warren Buffett's teacher. You get what I'm saying? So I'm from that camp. I'm from the Benjamin Graham, Warren Buffett camp. But when it comes to cryptocurrencies, I just don't think he gets it just yet. I just don't think he understands it because, it is the opposite of fundamentals. And he is very smart about saying, watch out for some of this stuff. Because I wouldn't tell you to go invest in it like I'm telling you to invest in maybe a stock or something. But just because, y'all know, I think that's speculation. Investing in stocks, in certain stocks is investment, but investing in certain other stocks is speculation as well. So I'm not just going to say that it's all that. So yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm over here reading the comments at the same time, but yeah, go ahead.
I guess I want to go a little bit into now. You have now you have more countries that are looking into digital currency. For example, you have Venezuela that is looking into creating their own currency. How do you think Bitcoin had pretty much made this possible, made people start to think a little bit further out?
Well, I know for a fact, this is fact. I know the guy that helped develop the exchange in Venezuela. It was kind of like an underground exchange. I know for a fact in Venezuela that those people down there want to trade their Bolivar for Bitcoin. They don't want to be holding on to Bolivar. Matter of fact, there are two prices for the Bolivar. One is black market and one is the one the government tells you have to trade at. Mm-hmm. And this guy who was running the exchange down there, or at least developed the technology, he said that the guy who was running it got his door kicked in. Like literally got his door kicked in by the government, and he had the servers at his mom's house or something like that, and they came to come shut him down. So Bitcoin definitely planted the idea to the point where they thought it was going to affect them adversely, right? So they wanted to shut this guy down for trading Bitcoin, but then here you go. Now all of a sudden they get in and say, hey, we're gonna have our own cryptocurrency. That's what I'm talking about. Like that's what cryptocurrencies should be allowing, is the freedom of it. And then the government's still trying to come in and control that too. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's almost like the government.
You froze up. You're freezing up on me a little more. There we go. You're back.
Yeah. Did it freeze?
You're back now.
It might be notifications. Yeah, so I think Bitcoin definitely planted the seed because they saw how much and they see how much all over the world people are wanting these coins. So Venezuela having a very valuable resource, which is oil. They're a very oil-rich country. They said, okay, we're going to create our own currency instead of having the OPEC or petrodollar, which is what the US dollar is when you start talking about oil. We're going to create our own currency that you have to come get from us to even get our oil. So I think Bitcoin definitely planted the seed for them. That definitely.
Okay, now I'm gonna shift it back now for those who have just joined us. This is Tamika D from One Family News Let's Talk. I have on live with me, Mr. Lamar Wilson. We're talking about cryptocurrency and the blockchain technology. Now, for our new investors or those who want to get started with the Bitcoin, what is your advice for them?
Listen, jump in, number one, somehow, some way. Jump in put your big toe in. That's what I say. Don't jump all the way in, put your big toe in, feel it and see how it works. But what I'm saying is take a little risk with money you can afford to lose. All of us probably spend money on something we ain't supposed to. Might buy too many cheeseburgers or whatever. I don't know what it is. Your vice is that you spending extra money on. But whatever it is, take that little bit of money, go buy you some crypto and sit on it. Don't touch it. And if you feel the need to do it again, get a little bit more, sit on it, right?
So what do you say about the markets today? Right now we're sitting on the Red Sea.
Listen.
What do you tell those that want to jump into the market right now? Is it a jump in, or is it just
if you jump in while it's dropping, I say jump in slow. But $5 you ain't gonna be able to jump in slow if you only putting $5. But let's say you got $300-400 you want to put in. Buy the coins in $50 increments over a period of time. Say I'm going to deploy this $400 over the next week. So for the next 5 days, you buy $80 a day, right? And you'll have your $400, and that'll allow you, as it's dropping, you'll catch either the up or the down, depending on where it's at. And then just hold on. I mean, especially if you're trying to hold on for the long term, the price right now doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter. Let's say you put $200 in, you're gonna hold on for the long term. Then if it drops to $80, your $200 worth of $80, who cares? You're gonna hold on for the long term, right? So don't get drowned in the Red Sea. That's what you called it, the Red Sea. Yeah, don't get drowned in the Red Sea. But yeah, just jump in. Go ahead and try it a little bit. Get on it. I always advise beginners to not go straight into ICOs and all of this other stuff that's brand new. Get in some of the old school ones, the ones that have been around that actually have historical data. And I never say historical data will determine future outcome, but be having the historical data, at least you can see that this coin has made it through some storms before. You know what I'm saying? It's made it through. So that's what I'll tell young new investors to do.
Okay, now can you share some resources that are out there that are available for new investors, for them to go on or maybe join, or talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so Bitcoin.org is always the greatest place to start. That's why I started. I got the Satoshi white paper, read it, and understood the ideology behind it. And then also saw this great invention called this proof of work longest chain, basically consensus, that was amazing. And I understood it from a Byzantine fault solution. But let's see, Bitcoin.org, Mastering Bitcoin by Andreas. You can go check out my class. I always forget my class for some reason. On theblackbusinessschool.com. If you go to theblackbusinessschool.com, Dr. Boyce Watkins has a great school over there where he's teaching finance, and I just happen to be one of the classes, Cryptocurrency 101. Blockchain for Dummies. That's a pretty good book as well. So yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of resources. And then make sure you get into the up-to-date stuff, like follow people on Twitter that are knowledgeable. Come check out my page at Big Mar. It's facebook.com/BIGMARH. Check that out. But yeah, just any place you can possibly get a little bit of information, but always fact check. And I always tell people while I'm talking, go check out, make sure I'm saying this right. Fact check and those kind of things. And somebody said, watch Banking on Bitcoin. Yeah, that's a good introduction on Netflix. That's a really good one as well. So.
Okay, so with that being said, we're gonna open it up now for questions. So if you have any questions, please type them up so that we can get them out and get you an answer.
Yeah, for sure. Mika, I really appreciate you doing this, sister.
I thank you for the talk we had, a couple weeks ago, and you pretty much just opened the door and said, "Hey, if you want me to come on, just let me know." You made it very easy for me. So yeah. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, like I said, I've done it for Miss Martine. My man Richard Law was the first. So whenever anybody reaches out, if I have time, I'll try to jump in and educate your following and your people and your friends and family, because I've done it so much with my friends and family that it's like, that's why my wife and my business partner told me to make a public page. It's like, get it out to more people, Lamar. So I'm like, okay, I'll do that. And so that's why I'm here with her today. And it just shows that she loves the people around her because she is trying to educate them, like straight up and down. That just shows how much she loves the people around her. See, any new calls?
So we have a question. When you say long-term investment, how long are you talking about? 2 to 5 years or 5 to 10 years?
Till it dies. No, but here's the thing. What I always tell people is that if you're going long-term, I know. If you're going long-term, what I always tell people, have a plan. Like literally have a plan. Say, this is I had a buddy, he said, when Bitcoin hits 13,000, I'm done, I'm retiring. Like he had a plan in his mind. He said, I know how much Bitcoin I have. When it hits 13,000, I'm cashing out, I'm out of here, right? Because he already had in his mind, he's not trying to, make any more. He'll be already a multimillionaire, right? So for that type of situation, have a plan beforehand. And when I say long-term, I'm not talking about 6 months, because some people's relationship think that's a long-term relationship, right? I'm not talking about a 6-month relationship. I'm talking about hold on to it, let it go through some cycles, let some of this technology get built out, right? Let it get built out. Let people build on top of it. And that's why I say make sure you get a coin that has a network where people are actually trying to fix it, where they're trying to build it out, where they're trying to do new things with it, right? Do that kind of thing and hold on to it. And just because think about it. What about land, right? So if you buy land in a country town, and you just have the land, or your family owns land in some country town, and then they run a major highway by it. You might have held on to that land for 30 years, right? And you pass it down to your family members, But after a while, that land became extremely valuable. And because you had that asset, it wasn't really costing you nothing to hold, because this stuff don't really cost you anything to hold, right? You just have a safety deposit box or something. That might cost you a little bit on a monthly basis, but give it time, hold on to it, and just wait, chill, or sell out when you're ready. Because some people, like I said, some people have a number in their mind of the amount of money they want to have in life, and they don't really believe in it for, like, if the technology works great, they might think that way. I don't care about if it, becomes the next internet. I just want to make sure I can take care of my family and the next generations for here on out. Right. So, I mean, it's to each his own, and I have no problem with anybody doing any of those. Hello?
You froze up on, there we go. I got you back.
Yeah, people are hitting me up. Like they was doing you. So that's what it is. I think holding is all relative based on what you're willing to do and but just have a plan for it. Already have your plan and stick to that plan.
Any thoughts on how net neutrality will affect the cryptocurrency?
I don't think it's going to affect it at all. Just to be honest, net neutrality was about getting more money from the people who are using more of the internet.
Exactly.
It's about YouTube and Facebook, all of y'all using all of this bandwidth, and we not getting any dimes out of it. We ain't getting money out of it. Using our highway, messing our roads up, and ain't getting nothing out of it. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So it's like, It is what it is. So at the end of the day, I don't think net neutrality is going to come into effect on Bitcoin or anything like that, because you're not even using a whole lot of, when you see the Bitcoin transaction, it's only a couple KBs, right? So you're not really using bandwidth on that. So I don't think that's going to be a huge issue in this space at all.
Okay, what do you, let's see. You have a viewer that's asking, should I buy with my debit card or from a Bitcoin ATM machine?
That depends. Bitcoin ATM machine is going to cost you a lot more money. Their fees are higher because a lot of times their KYC is a lot lower, AML is a lot lower. So their fees are higher, and it's convenience, right? You pay more at the convenience store for milk than you do at the grocery store. This is convenience. So that is, but if you buy it with your debit card, I mean, it just depends on where you are. Just be very careful not to buy from places that try to gouge you in dollars before you even get the coin. But they are going to charge you because they have to run a business. They are providing a service to you, so they have to do it. If you were in stocks back in the day, those fees used to be ridiculous until somebody came out with discount brokerages like E-Trade and Ameritrade, right? So it's the same thing. Whenever you go to buy these coins, you're going to pay a fee. Just be ready for it. It's just the cost of doing business.
And what are some of the exchanges out there for those who want to buy the Bitcoins and the altcoins?
Well, if you want to buy Bitcoins, in the United States, the easiest way from US dollar to Bitcoin is probably Coinbase, but a lot of people are having hard times like messing with Coinbase. Gemini is another one here in the United States. Kraken is not necessarily in the United States, but it takes US dollars. Bitstamp is another one. And then if you get into altcoins, you're going to have to take your money from one of those exchanges and go to one that I would consider a little bit more sketchy. The Binances of the world, the Poloniex. Those are a little bit more sketchy, but at the same time, Uphold. I'm sorry. Who keeps reminding me about Uphold? I keep forgetting about Uphold. Yeah, Uphold is another one. Uphold will let you just buy Bitcoin. I think that's all they have on there is Bitcoin. It says it's Gemini FDIC insured. Bittrex is in the United States as well. I don't know. Is it? Is Gemini FDIC insured? I'm not sure. Look, we doing like my show, Mika.
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing. I'm looking at the questions and I'm like,
Yes, dollars in Gemini are FDIC insured because they probably have a bank partnership. So yeah, somebody said they never had a problem with Coinbase. A lot of people don't like Coinbase. What's going on, Charles Griffin? Okay, but yeah, go ahead, Miss Mika. This is Miss
Okay.
Mika.
And
Hold
so,
on. This is Miss Mika's show. It's One Family News, right?
One Family News, let's talk.
Let's talk. This is Miss Mika's show. I'm her guest. So go ahead, Miss Mika.
Okay. So, can you talk a little bit about you and about your business and how people can reach out to you?
Yeah, so you can catch me everywhere on all social media at Big Mar, Bigmarh. Again, that's Bigmarh. My business, what we run is we have a company called Love Will that has a product called Hydro. One of our other products was the Fever Wallet, which we closed down about 2 years ago. But Hydro is a global commerce network for trade. What we basically do is tokenize invoices and put them on the blockchain. We were some of the earliest people in the game even talking about that stuff, about taking other assets and putting them on the blockchain for trade and things like that. So yeah, that's what our business does. And mostly we work with banks to try to connect their trade asset applications that they already currently have into other ones into a network. So that's what we do.
Okay. And what are some other sites that my viewers can reach you at?
I mean, listen, I'm going heavy on Facebook since I made this public page. That's one. Twitter, you can catch me, Big Mar. And listen, if it's way easier, don't follow my private page, like my regular page. Follow my public page because that's where I pretty much talk to everybody. That's where I met Mika. Go to my public page, connect with me on my public page, and I try to respond back as fast as possible. I might not respond back really fast, but right now I have 100% response rate because I do value the fact that I want to add value to people. So when they ask questions, I get to it, but I might not get to it right away just because there's a lot sometimes, but I do try to get to it. As a matter of fact, Leif also answers some of the questions for me. He's been helping me out with it because of the traffic that I'm getting there. But yeah, if you go to Big Mar, that's where you can handle it.
Okay. Well, Lamar, I want to thank you for coming on my show today. I will continue to support.
Yes.
That is all the time that we have today. Thank you for joining us on One Family News. Let's talk. Peace.
Peace.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you too.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Or it's daytime where you guys are. It's nighttime here. Yeah. So it's good night for me.
See you. All the way from Germany. See you later.
All the way in Germany. Good night, everybody.
Good night.